Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to Best Metal Albums of 2021, our annual countdown. So it's been another amazing year for metal music, featuring lots of great albums, including some that were surprise returns, others that were highly anticipated, some we knew that were coming, others that flew under the radar, but in all, these albums blew our mind when they came out, and we're going to get right into that in just a bit. But before we do, if you are new to my channel and haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this, with Best Metal Albums of 2021. And so, got some criteria here as to how I determine this, and basically it just needs to be a brand new studio album of all original material. So no live albums, no cover albums, no compilations, no anniversary albums, no reissue albums, and certainly no box sets. But if it is a brand new metal album of all new original material, it makes the list here. And I've got on a neutral metal shirt, Megadeth, since they did not release a new studio album this year, although we have their brand new album to look forward to in 2022. But I did not want to give away the winner of this by simply wearing a shirt that related to that. And I've got one honorable mention that we're going to start with here, and it goes to Flotsam and Jetsam. Blood in the Water came out on June 4th. This is their 14th studio album, and it's the first to feature new bassist Bill Bodley. The album itself is full of high caliber metal throughout, and arguably one of the best of the later day era albums that this band has put out. Really good stuff, definitely worth checking out. But we are now going to kick off the Best Metal Albums of 2021, and coming in at number 10, Exodus, Persona Non Grata, came out November 19th, 11th studio album for them. Second to feature vocalist Steve Souza, returning since Blood In, Blood Out back in 2014. So 7 long years ago, we've had to wait for this new album here. It's been a long time, but in my opinion, definitely worth the wait, as this is some great metal throughout this album here. Coming in at number 9, Accept, Too Mean to Die, January 15th. Probably the longest album that has been out that is making this list here, and I'm still enjoying this one almost 1 year on. 16th studio album in a more than 40-year career, as their first album came out in 1979, if you can believe that. 5th album with Mark Tornillo as their frontman, but also it's their first album without original bassist Peter Baltz. Still, they've got 2 new members taking over on here, Mark Motnick on bass and Philip Schuss on guitar. These 2 guys do great throughout. I'm really loving what they are adding to the flavor of Accept. And this album here is slowly becoming one of my favorites of the Mark Tornillo era. It's just that good in my opinion. Coming in at number 8, U.D.O, Game Over, came out October 22nd, 17th studio album by the former Accept vocalist. So interesting how those 2 albums back to back played out within this. But Udo Dirk Schneider, who is 69 years old, still has his raspy, distinctive vocals on this, albeit maybe a bit more gravelly than he used to have. But hey, that's metal, powering on, continuing through all of this, and they certainly are, with 16 slams of amazing metal mayhem here, all I think perfect for the times that we live in. And just as a reminder, Udo Dirk Schneider put out an EP this year as well, so we got like doubly stuff from him. Dirk Schneider and the Old Gang, it's called Arising, and it features 3 former members of Accept. Of course, Udo Dirk Schneider on vocals, but then Stefan Kaufmann on guitar and Peter Baltz on bass. So while this is an EP and did not make our album list here, I did want to point it out because definitely worth checking out, and some good stuff that they put on there. Who knows, maybe we'll even get a full-length album from them eventually. All right, coming in at number 7, Dream Theater, A View from the Top of the World, came out October 22nd, 15th studio album from them, and follow-up to 2019's Distance Over Time. I wanted to point that out because this new album they started recording in 2020, and it was all because they couldn't tour during COVID, so instead they decided to go back into the studio and be creative, which is how we got this album. Pretty cool thing that they chose to do instead of just sitting back and waiting. The album itself centers around the idea of pushing yourself to the limit. The art and everything follows along with that. And certainly I think this album sounds as though the band was doing just that by listening to it. And I think it makes for a very interesting listen throughout. All right, coming in at number 6, LA Guns' Checkered Past came out November 12th. 16th studio album from this band, and featuring Phil Lewis on vocals and Tracy Guns on guitar. This one here continues much in the same way that other reunion albums that they have done in the past have been, at least the last two, but I think that it has much more variety than some of the other albums that they have done. This has hard rock, metal, it's got blues on here, acoustic songs, ballads, it's even got some dark and brooding style songs on it as well. All in all, I think it just makes for a very interesting listen throughout, and some of the best stuff that they've done since reuniting. Coming in at number 5, Rough Cut 3. June 11th was the date that it came out, third studio album from them, and this is one of those ones that ran under the radar. Not a lot of people know that this came out. It's now been 35 years since their last album, Rough Cut Wants You, which came out in 1986. And so there's actually 2 different versions of Rough Cut out there right now. This version has 3 original members within it, Paul Shortino on vocals, Matt Thorne on bass, and Amir Durak on guitar. However, the album credits itself do list the other 2 guys as well, Chris Hagar on guitar and Dave Alford on drums. But they list brand new member joining, Carlos Cavazzo on guitar, coming from Quiet Riot and formerly of Rat. So what an amazing lineup there for this album itself. The sound picks up right where they left off in the 80s. If you like those first 2 albums, you are going to love this because it fits right in with it. All right, coming in at number 4, Halloween's self-titled release came out June 18th. A very highly anticipated album itself, 16th studio album overall for the band, and first to feature the Pumpkins United lineup, which now has 3 lead vocalists and 3 lead guitarists, kind of doing what Iron Maiden did, you know, building up the lineup with past members. This one here features the returning Kai Hansen on vocals and guitar, and Michael Kiske on vocals. Of course, we still have Andy Duras on vocals, so you got all 3 amazing lead vocalists now. And the way that they did this album, allowing each one to shine, you know, member to shine and give them time with on the album, you really get to hear everyone on this, and they, in the end, created 100% pure Halloween classic metal, in my opinion. On this, it's just a real triumphant return for the band. Coming in at number 3, maybe the most highly anticipated of all the metal albums this past year, Iron Maiden Senjutsu came out September 3rd, 17th studio album for them, and a double album at that. Really great to get 2 double albums back to back like this. Overall, though, this album here has a different sound on it. It's slower, darker, it's more brooding and moody at times. But the songs themselves, I think, have a lot of character and depth to them, making for a very interesting listen, holding my attention all the way throughout, even on the longer songs. And while this album did get mixed reviews when it came out at the time, for me at least, 4 months on, I'm still listening to it, I'm still enjoying it, so that's why it places where it does in this countdown for me. And coming in at number 2, KK's Priest, Sermons of the Sinner, came out October 1st. Debut studio album from this lineup here, featuring 2 former members of Judas Priest. We got KK Downing on guitar and Tim Ripper Owens on vocals. Of course, former vocalist from Judas Priest, having taken over for Rob Halford back in the 90s. Great to have him back together with KK Downing producing an album of this caliber. And I think this album here has all of the power that the Judas Priest albums have, and then some. And personally, I think this album here is better than the last couple albums that Judas Priest themselves have put out. I think if they continue on this path here, I would be very glad that this lineup is doing what they're doing. And I have to say that these songs that are on here have so much interest within these that it's making it one of my favorite overall albums of all of 2021. So not just in metal, but in rock, metal, alternative, etc. All right, and the number 1 metal album of 2021 goes to Blaze Bayley. War Within Me came out April 9th, 11th studio album from him. Of course, former Iron Maiden frontman, taking over for Bruce Dickinson back in the 90s himself. While this one here is not a concept album like his last three, this one here, in my opinion, is definitely the most Iron Maiden sounding of all of the releases that he has done. So this one here itself, again, is an album I have gone back to more than any other album this year. Repeated listens to this thing. So this one here, again, is by far one of my favorite albums of 2021, not just in the metal world, but in all of the albums released this year, which is why it is ranking as the best metal album of 2021. And so there you go. That is the top 10 best metal albums of 2021. Certainly do check the description for links to related videos. In particular, I have done a video for the 21 best albums of 2021. So that is an all-encompassing countdown featuring rock, metal, alternative, etc. You can see where some of these metal albums place within all of that. Not all of these did make it in the end of the day, but a lot of them are there. And certainly if you've enjoyed this video, please comment, like, and subscribe, and consider sharing this out on social media. Let me know your thoughts, and certainly I'm sure you guys have your own countdowns. Feel free to leave those for me to take a look at. All right, everyone, take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye-bye, everyone.